Hello student, welcome to the lecture on Introduction to Business Ethics, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Discuss the values, morals, levels of business ethics, explain the myths of business ethics, discuss the relationship between values, morals and ethics, describe the ethical decision making. Let's start with the term ethics. It is derived from the Greek word ethikos, meaning custom or character. The dictionary defines ethic as the treating of moral question, but this definition is imprecise and leaves a number of loose ends. Whose morals? Which moral questions? Business ethics covers diverse areas ranging from labor practices, free and fair trade, health concerns, euthanasia to animal welfare, environmental concern to genetic modification to human cloning. Perhaps the definition comes closest to providing a workable definition. Ethics is a code of behavior considered correct. What the society considered correct may have been arrived by the crystallization of consumer pressure on corporations and governments and regulatory forces. It is the science of morals describing a set of rules of behavior. Business ethic itself is an offshoot of applied ethics. The study of business ethic essentially deals with understanding what is right and morally good in business. Ethics is a branch of philosophy and is considered a normative science because it is concerned with the norms of human conduct as distinguished from formal sciences such as mathematics and logic, physical sciences such as chemistry and physics, and empirical sciences such as economics and psychology. As a science, ethics must follow the same rigors of logical reasoning as other sciences. Ethics as a science involves systemizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. The principles of ethical reasoning are useful tools for sorting out the good and bad components within complex human interaction. For this reason, the study of ethics has been at the heart of intellectual thought since the time of early Greek philosopher, and its ongoing contribution to the advancement of knowledge and science makes ethics a relevant, if not vital, aspect of management theory. Values of business ethics. Students, can you guess what could be possible value of business ethics? Business ethics are related to issues of what is right and what is wrong while doing business. The constituents of business ethics include adherence to truth, a commitment to justice, and public integrity. What values are to individual ethics are to business? Personal values, as seen earlier, refer to a conception of what an individual or group regards as desirable. A value is a view of life and judgment of what is desirable that is very much part of a person's personality and a group's morale. Thus, a balanced attitude to labor welfare is a value which may prompt an industrialist to do much more for workers than what the labor law stipulates. Service-mindedness is a value which, when cherished in an organization, would manifest in better customer satisfaction. Personal values are imbibed from parents, teachers, and elders, and as an individual grows, values are adapted and refined in the light of new knowledge and experiences. Within an organization, values are impacted by the founder, entrepreneur, or a dominant chief executive, and they remain in some form even long after that persons exist. J.R.D. Tata once said this when asked to define the House of Tatas and what links that forged the Tata companies together. I would call it a group of individually managed companies united by two factors. First, a feeling that they are part of a larger group which carries the name and prestige of Tatas, and public recognition of honesty and reliability, trustworthiness. The other reason is more metaphysical. There is an innate loyalty, a sharing of certain beliefs. We all feel a certain pride that we are somewhat different from others. These several values that J.R.D. Tata refers to have been derived from the ideals of the founder of the group, Jamshedji Tata. Ethics and business strategy. Can manager prevent their personal values from affecting business strategy formulation and implementation? Personal values and ethics are important for all human beings. They are especially important for business managers as they are custodians of the immense economic power vested in business organization by society. It is often observed from failed corporations that management executives, while working out their business strategy, are guided generally by what they personally want to do, rather than what they have been directed to do by the board or the company policy in the absence of any direct supervision. As a result, somewhere down the line, the right connection between values, ethics, and strategy is lost while they're managing business. However, it is vitally necessary that business manager should be guided as much as by values and ethics as by economic reason. Guided by this, it can be added that purity of mind can come only from having the right connection between values, ethics, and strategy. It is imperative that executives take business decisions not only on the basis of purely economic reason, but on ethical and moral values as well. Using ethical consideration in strategic decision making will result in the development of the most effective long-term and short-term strategies. Specifically, ethical criteria must be included as part of the strategic progress in before-profit decision rather than after-profit decision. This will enable the company to maximize profits and enhance the development of strategy and its implementation. Now let's move on to the next interesting topic of morals. Morality is a standard that an individual or group has about what is right and wrong or good and evil. Moral norms can usually be expressed as general rules or statements such as always tell the truth. Moral values can usually be expressed as statements describing objects or features of objects that have worth, such as honesty is good and injustice is bad. 5 characteristics can help pin down the nature of moral standards. Moral standards deal with matters that one thinks can seriously injure or seriously benefit human beings. Moral standards are not established or changed by the decision of particular legislative bodies. One feels that moral standards should be preferred to other values, including especially self-interest. Moral standards are based on impartial consideration, a point of view that does not evaluate standards according to whether they advance the interests of a particular individual or group, but one that goes beyond personal interest to a universal standpoint in which everyone's interests are impartially counted as equal. Moral standards are associated with special emotion and a special vocabulary. Although ethics is a normative study of ethics, the social sciences engage in a descriptive study of ethics. A normative study aims to discover what should be. A descriptive study attempts to describe or explain the world without reaching any conclusion about whether the world is as it should be. Moral development and moral reasoning. As we have understood what moral is, let's discuss more on moral development and moral reasoning. As people mature, they change their values in very deep and profound ways. The ability to make reasoned moral judgment develop in identifiable stages, pre-convention stages. At this first 2 stages, the child is able to respond to rules and social expectation and can apply the labels of good, bad, right and wrong. These rules, however, are seen as something externally imposed on the self. Punishment and obedience orientation. At this stage, the physical consequences of an act wholly determine the goodness and badness of that act. Instrument and relativity orientation. At this stage, right action become those that can serve as instruments for satisfying the child's needs of the needs of those for whom the child cares. Conventional stages. Maintaining the expectation of one's own family, peer group or nation is now seen as valuable in its own right regardless of the consequences. Interpersonal concordance orientation. Good behavior at this early conventional stage is living to the expectation of those for whom one feels loyalty, affection and trust, such as family and friends. Law and order orientation. Right and wrong at this more mature, conventional stage now come to be determined by loyalty to one's own larger nation or surrounding society. Post-conventional, autonomous or principled stages. At these stages, the person no longer simply accepts the values and norms of the groups to which he or she belongs. Instead, the person now tries to see the situation from a point of view that impartially takes everyone's interests into account. Social contract orientation. At this first point, conventional stage, the person becomes aware that people hold a variety of conflicting personal views and opinions and emphasizes fair ways of reaching consensus by agreement, contract, and due process. Universal ethical principles orientation. At this final stage, right action comes to be defined in terms of moral principle chosen because of their logical comprehensiveness, universality, and consistency. Although people generally progress through the stages in the same sequence, not everyone progresses through all the stages. Moral reasoning refers to the reasoning process by which human behaviors, institutions, or policies are judged to be in accordance with or in violation of moral standards. Moral reasoning always involves two essential components: an understanding of what reasonable moral standards require, prohibit, value, or condemned, and evidence or information that shows that a particular person, policy, institution, or behavior has the kinds of feature that these moral standards require, prohibit, value, or condemn. Moral responsibility and blame. Coming up to the next topic, moral responsibility. Moral reasoning, however, is sometimes directed at a related but different kind of judgment, determining whether a person is morally responsible or culpable for having done something wrong or for having wrongfully injured someone. The term moral responsibility is sometimes used as an equivalent to moral duty or moral obligation. A person is morally responsible only for those acts and their foreseen injurious effects which the person knowingly and freely performed or brought about, and which it was morally wrong for the person to perform or bring about, or which the person knowingly and freely failed to perform or prevent, and which it was morally wrong for the person to fail to perform or prevent. To condition completely eliminate a person's moral responsibility for causing a wrongful injury. Ignorance and inability. There are also several mitigating factors that can lessen a person's moral responsibility depending on the severity of the wrong. Mitigating factors include circumstances that leave a person uncertain but not altogether unsure about what he or she is doing. These affect the person's knowledge. Circumstances that make it difficult but not impossible for the person to avoid doing it. These affect the person's freedom. Circumstances that minimize but not completely remove a person's involvement in an act. These affect the degree to which the person actually caused or helped to cause the wrongful injury. Critics of the traditional view of the individual responsibility for corporate acts have claimed that the corporate group and not the individual who make up the group must be held responsible for the act. Law typically attributes the acts of a corporation manager to the corporate so long as the manager acts within their authority and not to the manager as individuals. Because individuals are morally responsible for the known and intended consequences of their free action, any individual who knowingly and freely joins his action together with those of others intending thereby to bring about a certain corporate act will be morally responsible for that act.
Back in the day, children were expected to help their parents do common chores around the farm, family business, or at home. Getting up early every day to help out taught them to be responsible, disciplined, and reliable, the basis for their work ethic they internalized. As society became increasingly more industrialized and service-based, personal wealth grew and time became a factor. So, people began to hire others to do many of these tasks for them. This meant children spent less time helping their parents, and they began filling those hours with recreational pursuits. Over that same time, schools were pressured to meet standardized academic requirements, so teachers had less time to develop students' character values. As a result of all these changes, today, employers everywhere are complaining about the work ethic of the emerging workforce. They're not reliable. They act entitled. They spend too much time texting and Facebooking their friends. They don't dress like professionals. They don't take pride in their work. They don't know the first thing about giving good customer service. Woo! Managers are left to wonder what their young employees know and what they don't know, or their cognizance about simple work ethic values. But even if they know what to do, it doesn't mean they'll comply. What will they do or not do when at work? This leads to 4 separate boxes or quadrants of workplace behavior. When employees don't know what to do and don't do anything, they are idle, and they are not of much value to anyone. When employees don't really know what to do, but take a chance and do something that, coincidentally, happens to be of value to their employer, they are lucky. It's good, it's just not sustainable. If they know what to do and don't do it, or worse, they do the opposite, they're cheating. This is the most dangerous place for employees to be, as it pits them squarely at odds against their boss and their company. Only when they know what to do and do it do they really have value to their employer. They have value and they are valued. It's a win for them, a win for them.
The accusing factors of ignorance and inability, which are endemic to large-scale bureaucratic corporate organization, will completely eliminate a person's moral responsibility. Moreover, depending on the seriousness of the act, the mitigating factors of uncertainty, difficulty, and minimal involvement can also diminish a person's moral responsibility for a corporate act. Levels of business ethics. There are mainly 4 levels of business ethics. Let's talk about them. The ethical standards of a business are a key factor in how that business is defined. A business reputation impacts its customers, employees, potential for growth and overall success. A business organization that exemplifies integrity in its products, services, and actions holds itself up to high ethical standards on all 3 levels. Number 1 is law. These laws define the difference between right and wrong and what is considered acceptable behavior by the majority of people. Number 2 is policies. The second level of ethical standards for a business organization concern its internal policies and procedure. Number 3 is individual. Though a business organization may be bound by applicable laws and internal policies, adherence by individuals determines the true integrity of the company. And number 4 is consequences. There are notable consequences for a business organization when it ignores or breaks ethical standards at each level. Myths of business. What caused the recent rash of corporate wrongdoing, and what can we do, if anything, to prevent similar transgression in the future? Perhaps because everyone has opinions about ethics and personal reaction to the scandals, a number of pat answers have circulated that perpetuate a methodology of business ethics management. In this, one can identify several of these myths and respond to them based upon knowledge grounded in research and practice. Some of the points to be kept in mind. Business ethics. Most people discuss business ethics, but they really do not realize its importance. Ethics is a matter of education. It is considered that responsibilities a person is having can be cleared by education, but the writer explained that just education is not enough for people who are really ethical in nature. Ethical dilemmas are possible when the ethical satisfaction is not there in routine human interaction. The chances of recognition any ethical problem decreases and in the long run creates major problems. Either an ethical person or not. If a business wants itself to be called an ethical accepted business, must have to take action which are ethically accepted. Downward thinking. By considering the profit as the sole goal of any business, all other goals such as benefits for the society, economic development and goodwill go beyond the screen. Business is game. Business must be taken as a game, having defined rules and regulation like all other games. If one wins, he or she would have followed some strategies and adopting the advancement in this field. Business is jungle. Business world is competitive due to the reason of its survival, but this competition is not fair all the time. The honor. Business leaders are like kings. Like all other kings, the business leaders struggle for their survival and try to maximize their profit. They think that due to more responsibilities, they are not bound to these rules, but these rules are just for common people.
Junior
Relationship-
associate, I need for you to work on a project for me. No problem. What do you need me to do? The firm needs you expertise in green business. I can do that. Company Do Good want to start selling their products in a new organic grocery store. What kind of product? It's called Not Organica. A non-recyclable plastic bottle to hold liquid. Plastic? Non-recyclable? Does not sound organic or green. It is. Trust me, I'm not sure about this. I am. Listen, Junior, Do Good is a huge client and we will both make a ridiculous amount of money through this deal. This doesn't sound right. All they need is a letter from TH firm that certifies the product is sustainable, but it is not sustainable. Maybe it is? I don't think so. It is unrecyclable. That is not sustainable. Oh, now you're the expert. Listen, just sign it. I will write the letter. That sounds unethical. What if we get caught? What if Do Good gets caught? That is of no concern to you. You are not paid to ask what if. I think it is my concern. I am going to tell. Blow the whistle. Call you out. I don't take kindly to threats. Well, you can sign this document and be rich, or you can leave. Good luck finding another job in this economy. An ethical dilemma.
Relationship between values, morals, and ethics. Now let's find out how values, morals, and ethics are in connection with each other. Morality, from the Latin morals meaning habits or custom, is the character of being in accord with principles or standards of right conduct. Ethics, the discipline concerned with what is good and bad or right and wrong, deals with moral principles and values. Morals and ethics are important to all people regardless of their world view. Some important points to be kept in mind. Values are our fundamental beliefs. Values are the rules by which one makes decision about right and wrong, should and should not, good and bad. Typical values include honesty, integrity, compassion, courage, honor, responsibility, patriotism, respect, and fairness. Morals are values which one attribute to a system of beliefs. Morals have a greater social element to values and tend to have a very broad acceptance. Morals are far more about good and bad than other values. Ethic is about action and decision when one acts in ways which are consistent with our beliefs, whether secular or derived from a moral authority. One will characterize that as acting ethically. Let's move on to our next topic. A foundation to good ethical decision making is acceptance of two core principles. We all have the power to decide what we do and what we say. We are morally responsible for the consequences of our choices. There are 7 steps to ethical decision making. Stop and think. One of the most important steps to better decision is the oldest advice in the world: think ahead. To do so, it is necessary to first stop the momentum of events long enough to permit calm analysis. Clarity goals. Before you choose, clarify your short and long-term desired outcomes. Determine which of your many ones and do not one affected by the decision are the most important. Determine the facts. Be sure you have adequate information to support an intelligent choice. You cannot make good decision if you do not know the facts. To determine the facts, first resolve what you know, then what you need to know. Develop option. Now that you know what you want to achieve and have made your best judgment as to the relevant facts, make a list of options, a set of action you can take to accomplish your goals. Consider consequences. 2 techniques help reveal the potential consequences. Filter your choices through each of the 6 pillars of character: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. Identify the stakeholders and how the decision is likely to affect them. Choose. It is time to make your decision. Monitor and modify. Since most hard decisions use imperfect information and best effort prediction, some of them will inevitably be wrong. Ethical decision maker monitor the effects of their choices. If these decisions are not producing the intended result or are causing unintended or undesirable results, then reassesses the situation and make new decision. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Business ethic is a sum total of principles and code of conduct businessmen are expected to follow in their dealings with their fellow men such as stockholders, employees, customer, creditors, and comply with to enact the laws of the land and to protect all these stakeholders. Business ethics operate as a system of values relating business goals and techniques to meet specific human ends. Morality is a standard that an individual or group has about what is right and wrong or good and evil. Ethic is a discipline that examines one's moral standard or the moral standards of a society. The ethics of our decision and action is defined societally and individually.